Dreamscape presents Last Ditch Effort by Isabella Crowley, Ell Leigh Clarke, and Michael Anderle. Narrated by Lysy. Prologue. In a dark and cavernous space, ancient stone ground heavily against stone, and the scraping rasp echoed with mock finality. The lids of coffins, particularly those crafted in distant times, were not made to be opened and closed more than once. Soon, the noise ceased and silence returned. The coffin was again still, its covering perfectly aligned with its body. Those with sight that could penetrate the darkness would have seen a beautiful coffin, whose crisp, elaborate carvings had softened very little despite the long span of time since the ancient artists had shaped the stone. It was an old, ornate house, which had been there almost as long as New York City had been independent of the crown. The great metropolis was not far, but there, in the far and wooded outskirts, one could easily forget the city's proximity or even its existence. The venerable trees were both tall and dense. Dawn was delayed by their grasping arms that blocked out most of New York's light and noise and activity, just as they blocked the sun when first it began to peek over the horizon. But each day, the sunlight crept in and filled the sky beyond with blazing light. And although the coffin's inhabitant would have no way of knowing, it promised to be a beautiful day. Chapter 1. Midtown Manhattan, New York City. Most people would have been horrified. It would be a rare privilege to ascend to the top of the finest condominium in all of Manhattan and see the palatial penthouse, where most plebeians could never, ever afford to live. And then, if a visitor stepped through the door for the proverbial unveiling, they would find the place utterly trashed. The expected opulence would be little more than polished turd, a gilded shithole, and the obvious abode of a gold-plated shithead. Of course, David Remington, the sole permanent resident and scion to the vast wealth of the New York Remingtons, had been called far worse things than that. Had someone flung such
Sample complete. Ready to continue?